Over the last few days and perhaps even the last few weeks leading up to the GE, I think we have heard many things from various parties. Many issues were talked about. In the last few days, they will talk about whether the opposition will be wiped out, whether the NCMP scheme is good or no good for the opposition. Then we have heard various ideas about GSTs, earlier withdrawal of CPF and things like that. So many things have been said. But I have one particular observation that I thought I wanted to share with you all. And that is in my preparations for the Zao Bao forum 2 days ago, I went through in detail the various manifestos of the various parties, and I also read through all the things that have been said. So while many things have been said, there is one part that is glaringly missing. And that one part has to do with how are we going to get through this COVID crisis? How are we going to save jobs? Now, this election is probably conducted in the most challenging time in our history. So I think every party, including the PAP, must have the plans to share with the voters how we are going to get through this situation. So while many things can be said, many things are discussed, I think the most important thing still goes back to this central issue. How are we going to get through this crisis? And I hope that the various parties and various candidates will have more to share with voters how they intend to take the country forward through this crisis. Right? Now, this election is not about the survival of any particular opposition party or how many seats the PAP is going to get. This election is really about how we get through this. If you notice, even through this election, the work of securing our livelihoods, saving lives, securing our lifelines, all continue. You saw the work of the MTF over the last few days to make sure that we continue to contain the infection. You heard about the National Jobs Council work yesterday on how we intend to work with various companies and agencies to create new jobs and training opportunities for those who are displaced by the COVID situation. We have heard from MTI how we continue to try to secure our lifelines amidst the disruption of the global supply chains. All these are the critical issues which we have to tackle in this election and beyond this election. So I hope that all parties, all candidates, and everyone can really focus on how we can help our country get through this difficult moment in history. We have never taken it for granted that Singapore will naturally be able to sail through this crisis effortlessly and to come out unscathed. That's not our assumption. That's why we want to have concrete plans. We want to have teams that can deliver this to take care of Singapore and Singaporeans well. Right. Then there's also a lot of discussion as to checks and balances. Let me just say this. Ultimately, when every voter goes to the polling station, every voter will have to decide who they want to be their member of parliament, who they want to take care of them and their families, and who can best help them to secure their jobs. It is as simple as that. Who they want their MP to be, who they think can best take care of them and their families, who can help them with their livelihoods and jobs. Now, these are the fundamental questions. It is about the survival of the families and our country. It is not about the survival of any particular party. And I think Singaporeans are fair-minded. Has the government done well? If the government has done well, should we affirm the government, or should we punish the government by having the government with even fewer seats? If the opposition has not done well, should we reward the opposition with more seats just on the slogan that they will provide more checks on the government? And I think voters will have to decide if they want the oppositions, or if they believe the opposition is ready to check the government, or is the opposition trying to checkmate the government in providing more effective governance, more decisive governance for us to get through this crisis. So I believe Singaporeans are fair-minded, and I think that will determine the outcome of the results.